She leaned close and said, "Can you step out for a while? You're making this tense for Trent." And in that second I realized I was being managed in my own home. Hey friends, please subscribe and turn on notifications, like this video, and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you. It's all thanks to you. I'm a 37-year-old guy in Madison, Wisconsin. I work as a project coordinator for a city contractor, the kind of job where you don't get applause, you get deadlines and paperwork. I've always liked life predictable. Pay the bills on time, keep a clean inbox, fix things before they break. My friends tease me for using calendar reminders for everything, but it's how I stay calm. Brianna is 34. She works in marketing for a regional healthcare group. She's bright, social, and she can make small talk with anyone in a grocery line. We'd been together a little over 2 years, living in a 2-bedroom apartment on the west side. Both our names were on the lease. We split rent and utilities. It was stable. It felt like we were building something. The weirdness started about 3 weeks before her promotion announcement. She got moved up to senior manager, and I was proud of her. I took her out for dinner, made the usual speeches about how she earned it, told her mom congratulations over speakerphone. She was smiling, but I noticed she kept flipping her phone face down whenever I walked into the room. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. People are private with their work stuff. Maybe her team was planning something. But then it became a pattern. She'd step onto the balcony to take a call, even though it was 20 degrees and she hated the cold. She'd go to the gym at odd hours, come back showered and overly put together for a weekday evening, like she'd had a reason to look nice that didn't involve me. One night I was on the couch with our shared iPad, trying to find a recipe for chili. We kept that iPad on the coffee table for streaming and grocery lists. Brianna had her email signed in because she used it to order household stuff. I wasn't snooping. I clicked the mail app because a delivery confirmation popped up and I wanted to see if our new furnace filters had shipped. At the top of her inbox was an unread message with the subject line, "Guest count update Thursday event." Under it, I could see the preview text without opening it, adding Trent H+1. I stared at that for a long second. Trent. The name hit me like stepping on ice you didn't see. I knew who he was. Brianna had mentioned him early in our relationship in that casual way people mention an old chapter they're not living anymore. College boyfriend, on and off. It ended years ago. He's in Chicago now. We don't really talk. I didn't open the email. I didn't scroll. I closed the app and set the iPad down like it was hot. The next day I watched her get ready for work. She had on a new dress I hadn't seen before. Her hair was done carefully. She looked like she was going to a photo shoot, not a Wednesday meeting. When I said, "Big day," she smiled too fast and said, "Just feeling motivated." That night she finally said what was going on. We were clearing plates after dinner when she leaned against the counter and said, "So, I'm doing a little celebration thing on Thursday, just a few people." I said, "That's great, here or at a restaurant." She hesitated and said, "At the loft space downtown, the one with the brick walls, it's more work appropriate." We walked past that place before. It was an event space you could rent for small gatherings. Clean, modern, not cheap. I asked how many people. She waved her hand. Not a ton, some coworkers, a couple friends. "Do you want me there early to help set up?" I asked. "That's what I do. I help, I carry boxes, I ask what time." Her shoulders tightened. "Actually," she said, stretching the word out, "I need you to keep it low-key." I blinked. Low-key how? She pulled her phone out and tapped at it like she needed something to hold. "Okay, don't get weird," she started, and I could feel my stomach drop because anytime someone leads with that, they're about to ask for something they know isn't reasonable. Trent is going to be there. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't move, I just said, "Why?" "He reached out after he saw my promotion post," she said. "He congratulated me, we talked a bit, he's in town for a conference." I stared at her, waiting for the part that explained why he'd be at her celebration. She didn't give it. She just kept going like it was all obvious. "He asked if he could stop by," she said. "It would be awkward if I told him no. It's not a big deal." I said, "Brianna, it's a celebration for your promotion. Why would your ex be there at all?" She exhaled like I was exhausting. "Because we're adults, and he's proud of me, and I told him I'm with someone now, so it's not like he's confused." "Then it shouldn't matter if I'm there," I said. That's when she delivered the line that changed everything. She looked right at me and said, "I need you to not hover, just be in the background, like don't act like my boyfriend in front of him." It took a second for my brain to catch up, not act like her boyfriend, in public, at her celebration, so her ex could feel comfortable. I asked, what does that even mean? It means don't cling, she snapped. Don't do the arm around thing. Don't make it a thing. If you can't handle that, then maybe you should skip it. There it was, the test, the power play dressed up as being mature. I stood there with a plate in my hands and felt something in me go very still. I'd been planning to propose in February. I hadn't told anyone. I'd put a deposit down at a local jeweler 2 weeks earlier for a simple ring, nothing flashy, a classic setting that I knew she liked. The receipt was in my email. The pickup date was on my calendar. I had also been the one to book the downtown loft space because Brianna had mentioned offhand that she wished she could celebrate in a nice place instead of a crowded bar. She didn't know any of that. She thought the apartment and the steady boyfriend were permanent fixtures, like furniture. I set the plate in the sink and said, okay. She relaxed like she'd won. See, thank you. I didn't respond to that. I dried my hands. I asked one question, calm and direct. What time does it start? 7, she said, suspicious now. Why? So I can plan my evening, I said. She watched me like she expected a fight, but I didn't give her one. I went to bed at my normal time. I got up early for work. I moved through the next day like a man taking inventory. On Thursday morning, Brianna left before me, wearing that new dress again, hair curled, makeup done. She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. Wish me luck, she said. Good luck, I answered, and I meant it in the narrow sense that I wished her well at work, not in the wider sense of us. When the door closed behind her, I opened our shared iPad and did what I always do when I'm calm. I gathered facts. Her email app was still signed in. I didn't need passwords. I didn't need to sneak. It was right there, the way she'd left it. I searched Loft. Up came a string of emails between Brianna and the venue coordinator. The contract was attached. The invoice was addressed to me because I had booked it. My name, my phone number, my card on file. I'd paid a $900 deposit with a 7-day cancellation window for a partial refund. Then I searched Trent. There were more messages than there should have been for someone she didn't really talk to. A week of back and forth, friendly, familiar, inside jokes, plans. One email thread included a forwarded calendar invite that said, Brianna's promotion night +1 added. I took screenshots of the relevant parts, not to be dramatic, but because if I needed to explain anything later, I wanted it clean and accurate, time-stamped, no guessing, no he said she said. Then I opened my own email and pulled up the jeweler receipt. Deposit paid, pickup date in 3 weeks, refund policy, deposit refundable within 14 days minus a small design fee. I was on day 12. I didn't sit and stew. I started making calls. At 9:12 a.m., I called the venue. The coordinator, a woman named Paige, answered with a cheerful voice. Hi Paige, I said. This is Evan Mercer. I have the booking for tonight. She pulled it up. Yes, Mr. Mercer. The loft room, 7 to 10. I need to cancel, I said. There was a pause. May I ask why? You don't need the why, I said, still polite. I'm within the cancellation window. Please email me confirmation and the updated refund amount. She clicked around. You're within the window, yes. You'll receive a partial refund, and the remainder is the admin fee. That's fine, I said. Please put it in writing. Subject line, cancellation confirmation, Mercer booking. I'll send it in a few minutes, she said. At 9:26 a.m., I called the small catering company I'd booked for appetizers. The invoice was also in my name. The owner told me I'd lose the $200 tasting fee, but get the rest back if I canceled before noon. I canceled. At 9:41 a.m., I called the rental company providing glassware. I canceled. At 10:03 a.m., I drove to the jeweler on my lunch break. I didn't bring anger into that quiet showroom. I brought a receipt. The jeweler, an older man with careful hands, pulled up my order and said, It's coming along nicely. I need to stop it, I said. He studied my face and didn't ask for a story. He just nodded. We can refund the deposit, minus the design fee if you sign here. Refund will post in 5 to 7 business days. Please email me the receipt of cancellation, I said. He did. Back at my desk, I opened a new folder in my email labeled Household Transition. That's what it was, a transition, not a meltdown. I moved every cancellation email into that folder. I saved PDFs of the confirmations. I took a screenshot of my banking app showing the pending refund from the jeweler because it came through as a notification later on the shared iPad, and I wanted to make sure it was preserved accurately. Then I looked at the lease. We de-signed it through a portal, and I had a copy in my email. The clause about early termination was clear: 60 days notice, a fee equal to 1 month's rent, and the ability to remove a tenant only with written agreement and landlord approval. So I knew I couldn't kick her out, even if I wanted to. That's not how leases work, and I don't play games with legal lines. So I did the sensible thing. I removed myself. At 2:18 p.m., I emailed our property manager, short and professional. Subject: lease inquiry, tenant change request. Body: hello, I'm a current tenant at Unit 2B. I'd like to discuss options for removing myself from the lease effective next month or initiating early termination per the lease terms. Please advise next steps and required documentation. No accusations, no drama, just process. At 3:00 p.m., I booked a furnished studio through a reputable short-term housing company across town, month to month. It cost more, but it was clean, legal, and fast. At 4:20 p.m., I reserved a small moving van for Saturday morning. I chose Saturday because I knew Brianna would likely be distracted, and because I was going to take only what was mine: my clothes, my tools, my personal documents, my computer, my grandfather's watch, my guitar, my kitchen knives that I'd owned before we met, and a few pieces of furniture I had receipts for. I got home at 5:30 p.m. The apartment was quiet. Brianna had left earlier with a garment bag and her heels. There was a sticky note on the counter that said, "Running late. Don't forget, Loki tonight." I read it once and set it down. At 6:05 p.m., I sat at the kitchen table and wrote her a letter. Not a long speech, just facts and boundaries. I kept it simple. I wouldn't be attending her celebration. I had canceled the venue booking that was in my name and on my card. I had also canceled the ring order. I would be moving out this weekend. I would cover my portion of rent through the end of the month, and then we would follow whatever the property manager required for lease changes. Communication would be via email only for logistics. I signed it, I dated it. I took a photo of it for my records and slid it into an envelope. At 6:40 p.m., I left the apartment and drove to a quiet diner on the edge of town. I ordered soup and a sandwich and ate slowly, because I knew the next part would tempt me to do something emotional, and I don't make big decisions while hungry. My phone buzzed at 7:12 p.m. "Brianna, where are you? We're about to start." I didn't answer. At 7:29 p.m. "Brianna, seriously, Evan, don't be difficult." I didn't answer. At 7:46 p.m., I got a notification from my bank app. Refund initiated, Mercer Jewelers. There it was, clean and final, a little blue bar of reality. At 8:11 p.m., she called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voicemail came through, and I could hear music in the background, voices, the forced brightness. "Evan, pick up. You're embarrassing me. Just come in and smile for a bit, okay? Stop doing this." That word, embarrassing, didn't sting the way she probably intended. It clarified. Her priority wasn't my feelings or our relationship. Her priority was how she looked. At 9:37 p.m., she texted, "Trent asked why you're not here. I told him you had a thing. Don't make me look stupid." I stared at that line in the diner parking lot and felt nothing but a quiet, sad certainty. When I got back to the apartment around 10:30 p.m., the place was still empty. I set the envelope on the kitchen table where she couldn't miss it. Then I went to sleep in the guest room because I didn't want to sleep in our bed one more night. The front door opened after midnight. Brianna's heels clicked on the floor. She was laughing, and then she stopped when she saw the lights were off and the apartment felt wrong. She flipped on the kitchen light and saw the envelope. I heard her tear it open. I heard her inhale sharply, the way people do when they read something they didn't expect. Then she marched down the hall and pushed the guest room door open. "What is this?" she demanded, holding the letter like it was a parking ticket. I sat up slowly. "It's what it says." Her eyes were shiny, not with remorse, with anger. "You canceled my celebration." "I canceled the booking I paid for," I said. "You had no right," she snapped. "I had every right," I said evenly. It was in my name, my card. I have the cancellation confirmations. Her face shifted fast, first disbelief, then the attempt to shrink it. Okay, you're being dramatic. It was just tonight. You're throwing a tantrum because I asked you to be chill. I didn't argue with her framing. I stayed with facts. You asked me to pretend I wasn't your partner so your ex could feel comfortable. She scoffed. He's not my ex in any meaningful way. You're acting insecure. There's nothing to debate, I said. I'm not interested in being placed behind someone else in my own relationship. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was trying to regain control. So what? You're going to punish me. You're going to make me pay for being nice to someone. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm choosing what I will participate in. Her jaw clenched. This is insane. Do you know how I looked? People asked where you were. My boss asked. My mother texted. I'm sure they did, I said. That's when she went to blame. You could have just showed up. You could have made it easy, but you always have to be the one who's right. I let that hang in the air. Then I said, Brianna, I'm moving out on Saturday. I'll pay my share through the end of the month. After that, lease logistics will go through email. Her eyes widened. You can't just leave. I can, I said. She tried insults next, reaching for whatever might hook me. You're cold, you're robotic, you don't even care about me. I didn't react. I'd learned a long time ago that people use labels when they're losing grip on the situation. Then she switched to tears, fast, like a faucet. I worked so hard, she said, voice cracking, and you couldn't support me for one night. I kept my tone low. Supporting you doesn't require me to shrink myself so another man feels better. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. That part hurt more than anything else, because I realized she had loved the version of me that absorbed discomfort quietly, not the version of me that moved when the ground turned unsafe. She stormed back to the bedroom and slammed the door. The next morning, she acted like none of it happened. She made toast. She talked about how everyone overreacted and how the venue must have messed up. She said, we need to talk about how you handle stress, like I was the unstable one. I didn't match her tone. I opened my laptop and forwarded her the cancellation emails, the way you forward documents for a shared project. Subject: confirmed cancellations. Body: for your records. No commentary. She read them and went pale. You really did it. Yes, I said. She stared at the screen and then at me. Trent said you were controlling. I looked at her. Trent can say whatever he wants. He's not part of my life. She flinched, like she didn't like hearing that boundary said out loud. Saturday morning, I loaded the moving van. I didn't take anything that wasn't clearly mine. I left the couch we'd bought together. I left the dining table. I left the blender she loved. I took my personal files and my things. I took photos of the apartment rooms after I emptied my spaces, not for drama, but because I believe in documentation. If there was ever a question about damages or missing items, I wanted proof of what I left behind. At 11:30 a.m., I emailed the property manager again, stating I had moved out and requesting formal lease change paperwork. I asked for a walkthrough when available. I included my new mailing address for any final statements. Brianna watched me carry boxes without helping. She hovered in doorways, arms crossed, eyes red, waiting for me to break. When I carried the last box to the van, she followed me outside. The winter air made her cheeks pink. She looked smaller in the cold, less powerful without her audience. So you're really doing this, she said, voice low. Yes, I said. She swallowed. Over one night. I didn't take the bait. Over the way you treated me, I said, and over what it showed. She shook her head like I was unreasonable. You're going to regret this. I don't think so, I said, and I meant it. Then she tried one more angle. If you leave, people are going to think you're the bad guy. I looked at her for a moment and said, people can think whatever they want. I'm not living my life for their opinions. That was the last conversation we had in person for a while. The contact attempts started that evening. First, an unknown number called at 8:14 p.m. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was Trent. I recognized his voice from an old video Brianna had shown me once. Hey man, he said, trying to sound friendly. This got blown way out of proportion. Brianna's upset. You should talk to her. You don't want to do something permanent over a misunderstanding. I deleted it without responding and blocked the number. I didn't owe him anything, and I wasn't going to debate my own boundaries with a stranger. Second, Brianna emailed me at 11:02 p.m. Subject: This is ridiculous. Bodies, you humiliated me and you took away something I earned. You owe me an apology. You always make everything about you. I didn't reply that night. I created a filter that sent her emails to a folder so they wouldn't hit my main inbox. Not because I was playing games, but because I needed my work email and my life email to stay clean. The folder was there if I needed it. Third, 2 days later, her sister reached out on social media. Bri says you're having a crisis. Can you just talk to her? She hasn't slept. I replied once carefully. This is between Brianna and me. If she needs to discuss lease logistics, she can email. Then I stopped responding. By the end of the week, the property manager sent the official options. Either Brianna qualified a loan and signed a new lease, or we both paid the early termination fee and ended the lease. Brianna didn't like either option. She wanted the third option where I kept paying while she kept the apartment and pretended we were fine. Reality doesn't offer that option. Here's where the quiet consequences started, and I didn't have to lift a finger. The venue coordinator emailed me a follow-up survey, and because my name was on the booking, everything about that cancellation was tied to me. That mattered because Brianna tried to claim publicly that the venue messed up. But then her coworker, someone I'd met at a holiday party, messaged me privately and said, "Hey, I heard there was a last-minute cancellation. Is Brianna okay? People are confused." I didn't trash her, I didn't send screenshots. I just replied, "We had a personal situation. I'm keeping it private." The next consequence was financial. Without my income on the lease, Brianna didn't meet the apartment's income requirement by herself. She had the salary, but the property manager required a certain multiple of rent, and her new pay bump hadn't hit the system yet. They told her she needed a cosigner or a roommate, or she could sign the early termination. She called me for the first time from her actual number, not unknown, and I answered because lease issues are real. Her voice was sharp. "They won't let me keep the place unless you stay on the lease." "I'm not staying on the lease," I said. "So you're just going to ruin me," she hissed. "I'm following the contract," I said. "You can sign a new lease if you qualify, or we can terminate early and split the fee. Those are the options." She went quiet, then said, "Trent said he could maybe help." I didn't say anything for a moment. Then I asked, "Is Trent going to co-sign your lease?" She snapped, "He might." I kept my voice calm. "Okay, if he does, great. If he doesn't, we'll proceed with early termination." She hung up. 2 weeks later, I got an automated notice from the leasing portal. Early termination initiated. Unit 2B, Brianna had started the process. The fee was 1 month's rent. It was unpleasant, but it was clean. I paid my half within the deadline and kept the confirmation receipt. A few days after that, Brianna emailed me again. Subject: Please. Shorter this time, no rage. "Trent isn't who I thought he was. He left town. I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Can we talk like adults?" I read it, I filed it. I didn't respond right away. Because another consequence had already landed, and it wasn't mine to deliver. Her workplace had posted photos from her promotion week. In the photo album, there were pictures of her smiling with coworkers at a bar, and in the background of one photo, Trent was there with his arm around her waist. Not in a friendly group photo way, in a way that made people ask questions. One of her coworkers, a woman named Dana I'd met once, sent me a message on a platform I barely used. "I'm so sorry, I didn't know." I didn't reply, I didn't need to. I just sat with the fact that Brianna's mature, no big deal story had cracked under the weight of a simple photo. That's what I mean by quiet karma. No revenge, no schemes, just the natural result of choices being visible. By early spring, I was settled in my studio. I slept better, I ate better. I went to work, came home, and the air in my place didn't feel tense. I opened my mail without a knot in my stomach. I started running again on the trail by Lake Monona, slow and steady, like I was rebuilding myself one normal day at a time. In late April, I was at a small hardware store on the east side, picking out paint samples for a shelf I was building. It was a new habit of mine, doing small projects that made my space feel like mine. I heard my name behind me, soft and careful, "Evan." I turned, and there she was. Brianna looked tired, not messy, not broken down, just worn, like life had stopped flattering her for a while. Her hair was pulled back, no bright dress, no performance. She held a basket with a few items like she'd been wandering the store without seeing anything. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said quickly. "I didn't know you'd be here either," I replied. She swallowed. "Can we talk just for a minute?" I looked at her and I felt something I didn't expect. Not anger, not longing, just distance. "I can spare a minute," I said. Her eyes filled, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm sorry, I really am. I thought I could control the situation and keep everyone happy, and I ended up losing everything." I didn't correct her. I didn't tell her she didn't lose everything. She still had her job, her health, her family, but I knew what she meant. She lost the stable version of life she assumed would always be there. She took a breath. "I miss you. I miss how safe it felt." I nodded once. It was safe for me too, until it was. She flinched. "I didn't mean to disrespect you." "I believe you," I said, "but you did." She looked at me like she was waiting for the door to reopen. I kept my voice gentle because I wasn't trying to hurt her. "I hope you're okay," I said. "I'm not angry, I'm just finished." Her mouth trembled. "So that's it." I picked up the paint sample card I'd been holding and slid it back into the rack. "That's it," I said. She nodded slowly, like she was trying to accept a reality that didn't argue with her. I wished her well in the only way that mattered. I didn't give her false hope. I didn't invite another loop of chaos into my life. Then I turned back to my paint samples, and I let the moment pass like weather. If you've been in a situation where someone tried to shrink you to make someone else comfortable, tell me how you handled it in the comments. I read them, and I think it helps people to know they're not alone.